So in this series of videos, these are encounters that we have personally experienced over the years. Some of them is caught on video, others are not. But the video you're about to watch was shot back in May of 2018, and no one has seen this video except for a couple of close friends and a couple other researchers. I've never shared this, at least the video part of it I've never shared. So I'll explain more once we get into it. Hey everyone. Probably guess I'm camping right now. Thought I'd squeeze in one more camping trip before I get married. I am camping at, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Flodell Campground. It's a small little campground here along this creek. And it's about, I'd say about a quarter mile off of Highway 20. I've been dying to camp here for a while. A couple years ago I found a Bigfoot report on an Oregon Bigfoot site. If I can find the link, I'll add it to this video so you guys can read the full report of it. But there was a married couple, and they didn't remember which campground they were camping at when this incident happened, but they gave pretty good description of where this campground was located off of Highway 20. And it took me a little while to find it, but this one fits every description that they described in the report. And they said the campground was right next to the Pend Oreille Wildlife Refuge. And the Pend Oreille Wildlife Refuge is like actually just right across the road. They said they were camping here for a couple days, and on one of their last nights they were just sitting around the fire and not doing much, just having a few snacks. They weren't cooking anything, but they said they started hearing screams off in the distance, and these screams lasted 3-4 hours, something like that. And they described, the scream starting off over in this direction, and then they could hear it, kind of moving along, and back and forth, for a couple hours, just something screaming off in this distance, off in this distance, a little closer, then further away. And that really piqued my interest. And I've been dying to get out here and camp. But several years ago we had a major windstorm come through here, knocking down tons of trees. And this campground had been closed for the longest time because most of the trees were all down. You couldn't even, you could barely walk through here. Well, last year, my fiance and I were walking through with her grandson, and that boy is obsessed with Bigfoot now, probably thanks to me. But everything he sees, he thinks is a Bigfoot track, a hole in the ground, that was made by Bigfoot, tree moss hanging on all over the place, that's Bigfoot hair. So when we were walking through this area, he was calling out, hey, look at this is a Bigfoot track, this is a Bigfoot track. And it was getting a little old, and he runs over to a little patch of snow and it's like, I found Bigfoot tracks. And I told my fiance, you deal with it this time, I'm gonna go look over here. And she walks over and it's like, Will, you better come over here and have a look at this. So I come over, and kid found Bigfoot tracks. I mean, they were going through the snow, perfectly aligned, fairly good sized tracks. All I had on me was my camera or my cell phone at the time, so I snapped off a few shots, and they just went up the road. And the creepy part of it was as we were following the trackway, and it wasn't very long. It was probably about maybe 7, 8, 9 tracks, something like that. And we were following the direction that the tracks went, which was right up the road. And as we got up to where the road kind of bends and heads out of the campground, we heard a loud, like literally like a tree snapping in half, and that came from this direction. So we immediately turned and was looking in that direction, and the next thing we heard was something huge just take off through the brush and up the road where the tracks were leading us. And it was the weirdest thing. I told her to, grab the kid and get near the car. I took off in the direction where whatever took off through the brush went, and I get up there, and it's just dead quiet. There's not a squirrel, there's not a bird chirping anymore. It's just quiet, and I didn't see any like fresh snaps or anything on the trees, but I mean, it just sounded like it just ripped through the forest. I mean, whatever it was. But I made it to the road, and all I can describe it as was a mumbling voice, and I couldn't make out any kind of words. It was just like a mumbling sound. It's the best way I can describe it. And the sound was coming from across the road in a dark patch of cedar forest, and I stood there for about a minute, 2, and it was just the creepiest thing, just hearing this mumbling. It was like watching an episode of Lost. Remember in those scenes where they were going through the forest and they were hearing whispers and stuff like that? That's how it sounded. It was just the weirdest, oddest thing. Creeped me out. I didn't have a gun on me, didn't have anything but my cell phone, and it had no service. I just ran back, got the family, put them in the car, and we left. So I've been dying to come back here and do some camping, and I don't know if it's just because I'm breaking one of my main rules of never going out by yourself. I'm camping out here by myself right now, just for one night. And I mean, the whole time I've been out here, it's felt peaceful, but the whole time I've been out here, it just feels like I'm being watched. There's a lot of black bear and cougar in this neck of the woods, and maybe it's just my imagination getting the best of me, but I'm constantly spinning around. It just feels like I'm being watched the whole time I've been out here, and I've been out here for about 3 hours now, and I don't know. I mean, I feel fairly safe, but I've done a few wood knocks, but haven't heard anything. The squirrels have been freaking out every so often around the camp, but yeah. I've got the digital recorder going in case anything does happen. I brought an extra video camera. I brought an extra video camera that I will be setting up on a tripod, and I'm just going to let it run all night and till the battery dies on it. Sorry, this place is just weirding me out right now. I'll be right back. Well, sorry about that. I just had to get up and look around a little bit. Because this place is just giving me the creeps, I chose not to sleep in a tent tonight. I'm actually sleeping in my rig. So I'm hoping, because of my windows being so tinted, that I can just sit in there and hopefully just look out the window, and if anything comes in, I'll be able to see it without them seeing me too well, if I can make it through the night. But I thought I'd take you over to where we found those tracks. Now the track line went right through here, little patch of snow on the side, and the tree break that we heard came from that direction right over there. And it was loud. I mean, super loud. And whatever took off through the tree line was right over here. I mean, it just shot right through the tree line, whatever it was. And it sounded huge. I mean, huge. Besides the trees snapping, the sounds of the stuff snapping, you just heard this thump, 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 as, you know, I'm assuming possibly footfall on the ground. Now, let's just say, hypothetically, that it was a Bigfoot. Now, this road here just kind of loops around the entire campground. And let's just say, hypothetically, that as we were walking down this way, the one Bigfoot was walking, and we were just kind of paralleling each other around this loop. And as we got closer to it, while we were following the tracks, something distracted us to make us turn that way, to give it a chance to take off. Just my theory. I mean, it could have been anything, snapping a tree over here. But that's the kind of crazy stuff that was happening here. And that is why I'm camping here. See if I can't experience something like that again. But this time I actually have all my equipment, so I don't know. See what happens when the sun goes down. Just finished dinner, and still pretty quiet around here, besides the birds. I'll admit to you, it's not very often I get creeped out in the woods, but I have no problem admitting that today I'm creeped out. And I can't guarantee if I start hearing wood knocks and vocalizations, I don't know if I'll be able to stay the whole night. I've been running through scenarios through my head of waking up in the middle of the night and looking up and seeing something peering in through my car window. Because I know there's no doubt in my mind I can just jump over my front seats, start the car, and get the hell out of here. I want to stay as long as I can. So in this next clip, I can't really explain what I saw, but as I was sitting there, I caught movement in the corner of my eye, kind of like just this dark mass, kind of like dropping. That was the kind of movement, you know, like something just dropped down. And I spun around, and all I can describe is just seeing this dark blob kind of like rise up a little bit, and then I saw the eye shine. I immediately, panicked and thought it was like a cougar. My adrenaline started pumping, and I ended up sitting there staring at this thing for it seemed like forever. It was probably just a couple minutes, but it felt like an eternity. And we just kept staring at each other, and I did not want to take my eyes off of this thing. And somehow my little voice was going off, just screaming in my head, camera, 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 which was right in front of me. And so I grabbed the camera and turned it on and started recording. And I caught what appears to be eye shine of something looking at me. Eventually, I'm trying to zoom in on it, and it moves, which freaks me out a little. And that's when I turn and bolted for my vehicle, grabbed my shotgun, chambered around, all that within just a few seconds, and it was gone. Um, Never heard anything move out of the area, never saw the eye shine again, but the whole area just changed. I mean, there was just this strange vibe in the air, and I felt like I was in immediate danger and I needed to get the hell out of there. Is that a cougar? What the hell is that? There was one thing that really just messed with my mind during all this is I couldn't explain the eye shine. The eyes just seemed to glow on their own. This thing was to the west of my camp. The sun was already setting behind the hills. Um, this was around 7 p.m. and my fire was, just barely burning. There was no light source to hit this thing directly for those eyes to be glowing that much. So that's one thing that really just blew my mind, that I just could not wrap my, anything. I couldn't even figure anything out, because that was just tripping me out, is just the eyes glowing. Um, was this Bigfoot? I have no idea. Could it have been a bear, cougar? I guess. The eyes were just gigantic. I don't know. I've been meaning to go back and stand in that exact location to get a size comparison, but I just haven't done that because the area really does just creep me out. So hopefully next spring I'll head back in there and get that picture.